In Tompkins County, 12 News' Aaron Lawler visited Cornell University, where a fraternity house has been vandalized following sexual assault allegations.
According to the executive director of the Chi Phi fraternity, the Cornell chapter has been suspended following the sexual assault allegations. After the word spread, according to the Cornell Daily Sun, the school newspaper, an activist group called Riot Moon on campus called for a ban of all fraternities. According to the Cornell Daily Sun, the activists vandalized the Chi Phi house with what looked like to be eggs and spray paint. You can see here on the sidewalk in front of the house, the word rapists is written. A senior at Cornell tells 12 News she has never been associated with Greek life, but has unfortunately never heard anything positive about those on campus.
And usually it's negative, so that's really disheartening. But I do know like some students have, well, they just feel a special bond with the people they have sorority and fraternities with, and I'm not trying to discredit that.
Wednesday morning, 12 News tried speaking with the fraternity members, but they put their hoods up and drove off. In a statement from the university's vice president on November 11th, he said, quote, "Our community is trying to process last Friday's crime alert that involved a deeply disturbing report of drugging and sexual violence. In times like this, it is important to recognize everyone processes and responds to grief and stress differently. I encourage you to take the steps that feel right for you in this moment." The university says this investigation is still ongoing and they will provide more information when possible. Make sure to stay with 12 News on air and online as we will be following the story. In Ithaca, Aaron Lawler, 12 News, Tompkins County.